Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having a good day, and today I'm back with some lovely F2 track time. We of course, as Robert Schwartzman, in the lovely Prima F2 car, and we're here for some qualifying at Imola. As I'm sure you can see, we've got qualifying, then we've got the sprint race and the feature race, but in this video we've got some lovely qualifying around Autodromo Internazionale Enzo Edino Ferrari in F2 cars. Of course, last time out at Bahrain in this series, we had a really fantastic qualifying session. Loads of pace. We were way off the front, really, considering the short gaps in the field. And then in the sprint race, that was really, really great. We made our way up the order. I'm not going to say any more. If you haven't watched that video, highly recommend it. I'd also quite recommend the feature race. You started from pole and dominated it. I'm not going to say anything else if you haven't watched it. I would highly recommend it. Really great racing, especially the sprint race, making our way up from P10 up towards the podium positions. I won't say anything else. Fantastic overtakes in that one. Really great lap one, and then Deleda had a little bit of an incident with us. He went spinning out, but I won't say any more. If you haven't watched it, I would go and watch that now. But in terms of the tyres we have got one compound, that's the softs. We've got that one compound of softs for the whole of this race. I mean qualifying, sorry. Of course, in terms of the sprint race and feature race, I think the sprint will just be mediums, and then the feature race will probably be one-stop soft to medium. But in terms of what we've got at the moment, we have one set of softs for qualifying. That is it. And that is all we can use for qualifying. So if you wear them out too quickly, you're not going to have any towards the end. But fortunately, tyre wear is pretty low at Imola. As you can see, lifespan 33 laps. It's not going to last 33 laps to be competitive in terms of qualifying. That's probably 33 laps until the tyres combust or you get a puncture. But we should be able to put in 4 flyers that are decently competitive with not too big of a drop-off. As you can see, some cars are starting to get out on track. So I think we'll go out there before it gets too busy and put in a decent banker. Imola then qualifying in these beautiful F2 cars. And we are getting going. One thing I've certainly found with these F2 cars around Imola is they are so tough to control. They do slide quite a lot, and it's so easy to lose the car, get too much oversteer, so on, as we just passed Nissany there. But especially this first section, these curbs just send you round sometimes. You want a little bit of a lift into that corner because it's so easy for you to go spinning out. It's quite a difficult track in these F2 cars, and for this section you've almost got to tiptoe around it so you're not ending up backwards by the end of it. Of course, you know, quite a few cars have gone out. 9 have set a lap so far. We're not looking too bad this weekend, but I certainly don't think we'll be anywhere near the front in terms of qualifying and then the feature race. However, if we can get somewhere around P9 or 10 on the grid, we could be competing for some very, very decent points in the sprint race, maybe even a podium, but we might not even get in the top 10. It is very difficult. As I'm sure you can see, the car is sliding around quite a bit. My typical corner exit for the chicane. You know, I turn it into the Wall of Champions there. Wall of Champions version 2. We don't need the one at Canada. I made one at Imola. If you basically break track limits but don't get a penalty because you're not strict on track limits because you don't want to be, as we're nearly running out of fuel. As I'm sure you know, you only really get fuel for one flyer unless you're going to have to crawl home, and that was a very disappointing 1 minute 36.28 of a lap. Really disappointing there. The car is sliding all over the place here as we nearly get a decent run through the first few corners, and somehow we held that as Zendelli goes quickest here in qualifying. You can see there's barely any tyre wear, only 3%, and we are really trading with our previous lap here, and it's all going to be about exits at the moment. The car constantly sliding. It is quite a difficult track. in F2 cars. But yeah, hopefully we'll get some great racing in the races. In terms of overtaking opportunities, there is only the one DRS straight, but it is a very good overtaking opportunity at that DRS straight. Have to say, Acqua Minerale difficult in F1 cars, equally difficult in F2 cars. We're going 9/10 quicker here, so I'm just going to continue with this lap. We should have enough fuel to make it to the end. We'll just have to crawl home on the in lap as we play Wall of Champions again on the exit of the chicane. If you guys are enjoying these videos, please do hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and hit the like button. It means a lot. But we're coming towards the end of this one. It's been an improvement. It's going to be 1 second and 2/10 maybe, as we nearly run out of fuel, and that probably just cost us quite a lot. So doing 2 laps with P17, bit of a shame that at the end of the lap we probably lost about 5/10, but we'll have to come into the pits after crawling home and then go again, as we've just got to not hit our teammate Oscar Piastri here. There we go, now we can return home to the pits. Well then, as we've crawled back to the pits, as I'm sure you can see, the order very interesting. Zendelli leads Fittipaldi, Vershaw, Pouchet, Viscal. All of those 5 are less than a 10th close to each other. It's pretty incredible.
Far, our fastest lap is a 1:29.7.
It is 1:29, yes. A bit frustrating. But you can see how close it is. Then you go further down the order, 2/10 down to P7. My teammate Oscar Piastri, P9. Delayed is there. Pouchet has been really consistent so far. He's up there. Zendelli, Fittipaldi, Vershaw, Viscal, Vips, Beckman, all similar names, and Armstrong to what we've sort of had so far. Nissany up in a very respectable P11. Tictum, Deruvala, Lawson, Aitken, and Joe again. Those 2 struggling, and Lundgaard. You'd expect it to be a bit higher up the field, maybe Sato too, and Drugovic, but they're near the bottom. We're P20 out of 22, but you can see the field separated by 1.5 tenths. If you exclude Boström, 1 second. If you exclude Samaya, 9/10. And if you forget us, it's only 8/10 down to P19. So it is very close, and we're going to go out again, I think. The reason why I've not gone over in detail in this order is that basically, you know, yes, you've got really close at the top. That's going to change. There's going to be more laps. There's not much tyre wear, as I'm sure you can see. So what? That's now just 1/10 slower. People are going to go quicker. When I say quicker, we're going to see more jumbling of the order, so we're going to get back out on track. Well then, a second attempt at a lap around Imola in these F2 cars. P20 is not where I was hoping to be after our first lap, but the first lap was scruffy. The second lap we lost 5/10 because we didn't have enough fuel. I'm not going to make that mistake again. We're going to do 1 lap here, return to the pits, and then do 1 lap again a bit closer towards the end of the session. Possibly go out a little bit earlier than everyone else. I know there's track evolution, but that's to ensure that we can get something decent in as we go and play who can ride over the most amount of sausage curbs. That wasn't very helpful. As much as I like playing who can ride over the most amount of sausage curbs, it isn't really the quickest way to get round a lap of Imola. So no better in the first sector here, as we're going to try and push it on the exit of the hairpin, but we need to try and push it through the middle sector and the final sector, but we'll have enough fuel so we're not going to run out about a few 100 meters away from the finish line of our lap, the timing line of course, as we head up the hill. I don't like Acqua Minerale there in these F2 cars. You've got to tiptoe round it, but really interesting so far. You know, you look at the order, and in terms of what's happening in real life, it isn't very reflective of what's happening in the game. You know, Juan Yusho really up there. He's been struggling so far. Lundgaard, really good driver. He's been struggling so far in our F2 career mode. You know, it's a bit of an interesting one. Of course, Pouchet, he's been going fantastically well recently. He's up there, and now we're going to go a lot quicker. We're not going to run out of fuel. And we should go 2/10 quicker with a purple final sector. 3/10 quicker, actually. And you can see how much a bit of a quicker lap can make a bit of a difference as we're going to run over here and lose it. Typical me after a lap. But 13th place, you can see how much just 3/10 makes because the field is just so close. As Poucher goes quickest, I knew there'd be changes, and that's going to continue to happen. We're going to return to the pits now, but as you can see, we've jumped up the order with a bit of an improvement on that lap. This is how close qualifying is here. Extremely close to the front and down the rest of the order. Well, look at this. Poucher leads with the fastest lap. Fastest sector 1. Fastest sector 2 to Zendelli. We have the fastest sector 3. It's pretty mad up at the top. As you can see, they're separated by not tenths, not hundredths, 6 thousandths from Poucher to Zendelli. That's the battle for pole. Extremely close. Fittipaldi only a little bit further back, with Verschoor still 4th and Viscal still 5th, but Deleda up to P6, which makes it 6 cars under a tenth of the lead.
Press the MFD button to open the multifunction display, and then
Thank you, Jeff.
to cycle to the tyres and damage screen.
I think everyone knows. Jory Vips, P7. Lawson, P8. So the whole of the top 8 separated by 2/10. Beckman, P9. Piastri P10, Armstrong 11th, Nissany 12th, and we are P13. Look how close we are to the back of Roy Nissany.
Best lap so far is
but look how close Tixham is to the back of us. Then Daruvula, his teammate, Zhou, Aitken, Lundgaard, Sato, Drugovic, and Samaya and Boschung. Ralph Boschung rounds out the field. That's your 22 cars still. Zhou, Aitken, Lundgaard, Sato struggling for pace. Tictum and his teammate a little bit further ahead. My teammate Piastri P10 looking pretty solid. But I think we're going to go again around 5 minutes to go. But the battle for pole, 6 cars within a tenth of the leader. Poucher leads the battle for pole. And this is so close. Loving these qualifying sessions now in F2. So close at the top. Hopefully we can go quicker when we go out for our final flying lap in this session in about 5 minutes time. Well then, here we go for lap number 3. The third flyer. I do believe we've already done 3, but let's get on to the next one. Yep, I think this is our 4th flyer. Yeah, 4th flyer. But it is hopefully going to be our best one. We've decided to go out a little bit earlier than most people, just to get away from the traffic, get our lap done, solidly done, and then we can just sit back and watch the battle for pole continue. Slow in, fast out this lap. What we needed, 2/10 quicker so far. This is the section where you've got to get it right. There's so much time to be found on the exit as we struggle on the exit and get oversteer. So not the first time we've messed up the first sector, but a decent exit off the hairpin's really nice. So these F2 cars, though, they handle so differently, especially around tracks like Imola compared to the F1 cars. The F1 cars, the cars can snap on the exit, but here you can lose the cars so easily mid-corner. The F2 cars are quite slippery, as I'm sure you can see there. We nearly lost that mid-corner, but 2/10 quicker through Acqua Minerale in that section at this lap. Not a bad sector 2 here, as we're going to just send it across here onto the runoff. Nearly put it in the wall, but that's fine. We weren't that close this lap, and hopefully this should be enough to propel us into the top 10. It is so close at the front of the field that this should be enough to get us towards it. I don't think we're going to be anywhere near pole here, but as we round out the final corner, nearly 8/10 quicker. Puts us quickest, actually. Wow, that shows you how close it is. Actually, yeah, 7/10, sorry. We're only 5/10 behind. We go quickest. Lundgaard in front. Go side by side into the first corner. He's on his out lap as we nearly lose the car. We do a little bit. But there we go. We've gone quickest. We're going to return to the pit, and I'm going to show you guys the final result of qualifying for Imola in the F2 cars. What a lap that was, but can Poucher, Zendelli, Fittipaldi, Verschoor and Deleda respond? Well then, it wasn't just ourselves who went quicker in this qualifying session. Viscal is on pole. That's 4 points for him. 1:28.419. He's 1.75 tenths quicker than Richard Verschoor for MP Motorsport. He will line up P2 on the grid. We've been demoted down to P3, but still a fantastic qualifying position, judging on our pace earlier in the session. Zendelli will start P4 for MP Motorsport in the feature race, with Fittipaldi moving up to P5 for Chariot Racing System. Shame it wasn't so tightly contested for pole as it was earlier in the session, but our teammate Oscar Piastri up from P10 to P6 on his final lap, only 3/10 off the fastest. There he will line up P6, so 2 Primas in the top 6, 2 MP Motorsports in the top 4. Liam Lawson starts P7, that's High-Tech's Grand Prix highest placed car. He is under 4/10 of pole. Then Theo Pouchet looking really great for pole. He was first until everyone else went out again. He didn't really improve, and he starts P8 on the grid. Jory Vips P9, second of the High-Tech Grand Prix cars, with Alessio Deleda down to P10. Beckman P11 with Daruvla and Tictum, the teammates, 12th and 13th. Armstrong 14th with Wan Yuzhou, the highest Univirtuosi Racing driver, in P15. The Chineseman still struggling. Sato 16th with Aitken 17th and Drugovic 18th. Nissany will start 19th. Samaya 20th. Lundgaard really struggling down in P21. Boschung P22. But as I'm sure you can see, the top 19 cars separated by under a second. What a fantastic qualifying session. The top 10 separated by under 5/10. But there's your big story. Bent Viscal on pole. Wonderful lap from him, from his fellow countryman Richard Verschoor, the 2 Dutchmen looking to follow in the footsteps of Max Verstappen someday. And yeah, really interesting qualifying session. 4 points for Bent Viscal for taking that result. That moves him up to P2. He's still 23 points off ourselves, but he could really catch up to us this weekend. It also moves him ahead of Deleda and Pouchet up to P2 in the standings. Deleda P3, Pouchet P4, and our teammate Piastri is P5, ahead of Beckman, Vips, Fittipaldi, Verschoor, Zendelli, and Liam Lawson. In terms of the team standings, that moves Trident up the order, drops ART down to 4th, HWA Racelab down to 3rd, but Trident are now up into a very tasty 2nd place with 20 points, but they're way off Prima Racing, and I think we might have it fairly easily in terms of the constructors for this season. But your top 10 once again: Viscal, Verschoor, Schwartzman, Zendelli, Fittipaldi, Piastri, Lawson, Pouchet, Vips, and Deleda. Of course, for the sprint race, Deleda will be on pole, lining up alongside Vips, who will also be on the front row. Will be down the order in P8, I do believe. Our teammate right in the middle, P6. He will hopefully be able to take good points in both races. Prima Racing. No real shocks here, but Wan Yuzhou still struggling. Jacques Aitken, Drugovic, and Lundgaard not having a great start, but top 10, solid top 10 is beginning to form. Viscal's on pole for you guys in the feature race. Verschoor will line up alongside him. That is qualifying, but I think the big story, under 5/10 for the whole of the top 10. Fantastic to see the cars so close together. That's what you get with F2, is some very, very close pace between the different drivers, and hopefully we'll get some very, very close racing around what feels like a very slippery Imola track next time. So guys, thanks a lot for watching. Catch me next time in this series for the Imola sprint race. If you've enjoyed it, don't forget to hit the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, not days, you know. I'm not going to say you're going to die soon. That's a bit horrible. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and yeah, be the best you can be.